The 1.05 update is finally here, and with it comes some serious changes not only to the game system mechanics but to so many different characters in the game as well. One of these characters heavily affected by this patch is Steve Fox, who has received some much needed changes. In my opinion, it's been long overdue. Hey guys, GamerNemy here, and today I'm gonna break down the Steve changes given to him in this current update, how he changes him, how it affects him in this game, and my thoughts overall on where Steve will be in the meta after this. So the first big change is the fact that Steve can now use his Sonic Fang off of while standing. Now this one seemed like a very weird change at the beginning because it's a 14 frame punisher. Like Steve already has while standing 1-2, which is a very strong punish, does 32 damage. He has while standing 2-2 as well, new to Tekken 8. So I didn't really get why they had to give him Sonic Fang from while standing. It's a 40 frame punisher and does less damage. You can go into hit as well, and you can get like a hit dash into a follow-up as well from a punish. But it does have its uses. Now that I've tested it a bit, like I said, you can use it off of a hit dash and get a follow-up after, which makes it a really decent tool to use, honestly. But I don't think as though it will change Steve in a very big way. The only thing that makes it really strong is the fact that you can get a hit dash out of it and follow up with, forward 2 now. You can't actually follow up with pickable down 2 after the hit dash nerf, so rip. So you get like what, 43 damage off of Sonic Fang hit dash into follow up, which is a stronger punish than outstanding 2-2 and outstanding 1-2, granted, but does not really affect Steve that much. So moves like Jin down 2, Fang forward 1 can now be punished by a Sonic Fang, which is it's alright overall. His full crouch down forward 2 is now 2 frames faster, so it goes from 18 frames to 16 frames. Now this as well does not change Steve that much. If only it went down to 15, boys. We're this close to getting a 15 frame launcher, but that won't happen for sure. It does not fit Steve's archetype, at least from where he came from back in Tekken 5. However, it does change Steve in a sense that he can now actually punish certain mid-high strings. For example, Leroy here uses down forward 3 1 1+2, right? But because full crouch down forward 2 is so slow, it is hella slow, you can't really launch Leroy, like duck the second string and launch him because of how slow this freaking launcher is. Now with this change being a little bit faster now, you can actually punish Leroy, but the timing is very strict. But at least it does make it a little bit more easier, right? We're getting there step by step. Eventually it will be good. This is a good change actually for like Jin back forward 2-1-2 as well. If you delay the slightest, right, pre-patch, if you delayed the slightest, you wouldn't actually duck the high and punish it. But now it's super easy to do because of how fast the move comes out. Lionheart 1 is now -4 from -9, which is a huge change as well, because this allows Steve to actually move around after and throw out other moves as well, such as power crash, jabs, back 1. -4 is good. Anything below -5 is like really good. So the thing about Lionheart 1 is that it locked you out of the pressure. Like every time you did Lionheart 1, right, -9, you lost your turn. You put yourself in a guessing game, like right in your opponent's face, like in front of a paw. After you threw out a Lionheart 1, you'd have to guess between Demo Man and the mid. That's just how bad it is. Like I didn't have a problem with it being -9. I had a problem with it with how close it left you to the opponent's face. That was a little bit too much. But now it does have a little bit of more pushback, and it's -4, dude. Like -4 is good. It is so good. -4, you can throw out stuff, you can throw out jabs, back 1, power crash. A very welcomed change. Thank you, Namco. Okay, then we have 2 changes to his Lionheart 1+2. The first being a nerf, because it now deals some gray health as well. So it does 19 base damage, but with some recoverable health. So which is a little bit of a nerf, not that significant, but like, yeah, it was pure damage before, but now it does like gray health damage. But that really makes sense if you look at the buff it's received. So firstly, there's this new effect that's been added, something called parry guard break reversal or some shit like that. So basically it's a counter to power crash, it's a counter to hit burst and to parries. This means if a person does a power crash or a parry against this move or even a hit burst, it will go through. That's right, it will beat a parry, it will beat a power crash, it will beat hit burst as well. And this is Steve's 1+2, Lionheart 1+2, which is, mind you, a natural launcher on hit. A natural launcher on hit. So now they have to guess. They just have to guess. It's either they duck or they stay standing. They can't really do anything else. Before, yes, they could just take the guess, but they could power crash out of this option. They could hit burst out of this option as well if you did not do the Lionheart 1, if you did the 2 instead. So the fact that this guard break reversal has been added to the game, yo, this move is actually ridiculous. It's super sick right now. Like, it's a pure 50-50. None of that power crash bullshit. You have to guess, you have to, like, mix up your stuff. Hell no, it's a pure guessing game. It's either you duck or you stay standing. This is a huge buff for Steve. Of course, he should have had this at the beginning of the game, but like, yeah, we're getting there, boys, one patch at a time. Steve is slowly heading to the top, and yeah, this one is huge. I'm excited about this one, guys. I'm sure you can even tell this one is a big one. And lastly, which is perhaps the biggest change and a long overdue change, the fact that Steve is not locked to Lionheart stance anymore. You can decide not to go into Lionheart stance off of the moves that forced you into the stance previously. So basically, up back 2 is now like the standard for every other move, right? Back 1-2 you can hold back, sway 1-2 you can hold back, outstanding to 2, forward to 2 you can hold back and not go into Lionheart. Now this, like I said, is a long overdue change. Steve mains have been complaining about this for the longest, and Namco have listened. Namco are listening. Thank you, Namco. Like, finally a step in the right direction. Now at first I thought like the back 1-2 or the sway 1-2s, the high highs would still be +3 even after not going into Lionheart, but sadly they are -1. So -1 on block if you go for like back 1-2 and not go into Lionheart, then +4 on hit if you decide to cancel. Yeah, pretty good. Although outstanding 2-2 and forward 2-2 are -10 if you decide to cancel and not going to Lionheart stance as well. So not that, not that good, not that OP, but on hit is where it's strong. It gives you, I think it's +7, right? So I can't really talk much about this. Like, we've been wanting this Steve mains for the longest, right? And it's finally here. This gives him much more flexibility, and -1 is basically, like 0, you can move afterwards, right? Instead of always being locked to Lionheart forcing you to cancel or forcing you to use sway. So this is a much needed change. Thank you so much, Namco. This allows Steve players to be a little bit more flexible, as Steve should be, right? So huge dub, man, huge dub. I expect to see more Steves overall from here on out, and I expect less complaint from Steve mains. Guys, this is a good change. So now, where do these changes leave Steve in the meta? Is he a super S tier character? Is he still bad? Is he super low tier? Is he mid? These are the questions that need answering. Now the first thing I'll say is it's early, okay? This is a new meta. There are so many changes. Like, yo, things are crazy right now. Things have done to characters like King, Kazuya, Po. Holy shit, right? So it's a new patch, it's early, we can't tell just yet, but dude, I'm gonna say it right now, Steve is going to be a problem, okay? We already saw a rise of Steve, with low high picking him up as well. Newman has been cooking with Steve. There aren't just that many Steve players right now, but when the people start using Steve again, when the nobbies and the knees start picking him up, you're just gonna see how valuable this character is because of his compact, safe playstyle. And the mechanics have been nerfed. Hit burst has been toned down. He has that Lionheart 1+2 to counter hit activation, right? Power crash as well to counter that. So Steve can't be bullied. That's the thing about Steve. He can't be bullied as much, especially after the nerfs to the hit mechanic. Now, how good do I think Steve is going to be after this patch? It's too early to call, but I'll place him at higher mid, right? Maybe like A, right? If there's, let's say there's A plus and A, I would put Steve at A, maybe at top A, right? Because dude, this character is so safe, he's so compact, he's very little risk, and you get high reward from landing those juicy back ones. He still has the damage, his command throws are scary, he's good. He's a good character, guys. I don't think Steve players should be complaining anymore. It's a start, right? It's a start. Yes, his outstanding punishment is not that great. They've given him the Sonic Fang. That doesn't change much. His full crouch down for 2 is still like a 16 frame outstanding Punisher. We don't have a 15 frame launcher, which sucks. Yeah, I get it. But like, man, I don't know, man. The buff to that Lionheart 1+2, Lionheart 1 now being -4, he can move afterwards. I don't know, dude. Steve is strong. He's looking strong. So I'm gonna run some more Steve matches in ranked. I haven't touched Steve in a long time. I've been playing so much Raven, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna run some Steve sets. I should get him to at least Tekken King, you know. Then I will upload some matches as well and talk about how I feel about Steve after the changes. So how do you guys feel about Steve though? Let me know in the comment section. So GG my boys, and like the video, subscribe as usual, the YouTube jazz, and check out my other Steve content. GG.